Are you a small business owner that is looking for ways of securing your own business in 2025? Are you looking for a list that is somehow subjective, a little bit curated, and that comes from a person that is not trying to sell you a solution at the same time? If that's the case, keep on watching this video because I'm about to share with you things that I consider relevant in terms of security as of 2025. This one is probably super boring, but it's actually really relevant. Keep things updated. And I'm not talking about just the servers and the application, also stuff like dependency hygiene. That means all the libraries that you're using in your projects. Normally, nobody's looking there. And believe me, those libraries, they often come with vulnerabilities that can simply compromise the whole project. This is yet another basic thing because I'm talking about firewalls. So what I suggest is actually get a firewall, make sure that only relevant and necessary ports are open. And also another important thing, consider filtering out countries you don't want to do business with or don't expect any traffic from. And if you're afraid that this is somehow gonna cut off your employees while they're on vacations, well, there is a VPN. Do you have a web application firewall? Well, maybe it's the time to consider actually having one. There are plenty of options and some of them are actually even for free. Of course, make sure that you check all the GDPR rules, but I really recommend getting one because as of 2025, this is actually becoming more and more relevant. It's 2025 and I feel a little bit stupid asking this, but you do have SSL certificates on all of your websites enabled, yes? And as I'm talking about encrypting web traffic, how about the laptops, USB drives, and other data things that actually you carry around as you travel? This is one of the things I have been observing a lot last year. A lot of business owners, a lot of CEOs traveling around with their laptops not being encrypted, with USB sticks containing quite a lot of interesting data, unencrypted. As for physical theft, another thing is that if your laptop is stolen, and it's not encrypted, then of course all the login information can be extracted if you don't act fast. So that means if I'm lucky, I can actually get hold of basically all of your services without knowing a single password. Are you using multi-factor authentication? If not, this is the time to actually enable it. If you have the option of using single sign-on, and the account on your single sign-on is properly protected by MFA, then by all means, use it.
But why?
A lot of CEOs, a lot of business owners, they just hate that thing with the numbers on their mobile phone. But the thing is, the security of the whole group is as weak as its weakest link. Review procedures. Here I'm talking about phishing. Because of the AI, phishing got into a completely new level. And believe me, people that really want to get hold of you, they have a superpower at their hand right now, and that is AI. And because we publish quite a lot of information on the internet, it's so easy to actually gather the open source intelligence and, with the help of AI, use it against you. Verify things through a different channel. So if you're unsure, it's better to actually piss off your boss by having this extra call if it came via email, and not have a problem of losing a few €100,000 due to a dumb bank transfer. And since I'm already talking about phishing, then how about you review your email configuration and make it simply harder to impersonate you? And there is one more very interesting way of getting access to systems that are not yours, and this is actually through expired domains. So if you have any domains that recently expired or are about to expire, or domains that you want to get rid of, make a review of them and remove any security connections that were made to this domain beforehand. And the same thing actually applies to IP addresses, because we are very often tying security with domains, IP addresses, and these things tend to be whitelisted. And that's one of the very good ways of actually getting in, because it takes a few minutes to buy this domain, reconfigure it, set up a bogus email server, and you can reset the password. Now I have 2 points that I would like to discuss at the same time. Backups. This is to be taken very seriously. When I say to verify your backups, do this at least once in a quarter. And another thing that is always connected with backups, that's actually logging.
But why?
Very often, if they have it, they actually log at the source. That means that the machine responsible for logging is the same machine that is actually providing some kind of service. And why is it so important? Well, if I hack a machine, the first thing I'm going to try to do is to, of course, make sure that nobody's going to know how I entered the machine and try to remove all kinds of evidence. If you have logging which is happening on another machine, and these things, the logs, they are being sent over the network out to this machine, then the hacker has a big problem because he or she has to hack yet another machine to get rid of the evidence. And believe me, knowing how the bad people got in, that's very important knowledge. Next thing I have on my list, that's monitoring. And this is something that is sometimes confused by people with logging. Monitoring is not logging. Monitoring is actually actively looking for kind of anomalies, discrepancies, and things that are happening against the will or against your own wish. So if you don't have any monitoring in place and don't know really what to choose, then at least get some basic uptime monitoring and have it connected to some kind of SMS gateway so that when your machines go down, you actually get notified. Why I'm mentioning it? Because quite often when you are actually being actively hacked and your machines are being exploited in some way, this is one of the first signals. Things will go down or you will get very high CPU memory usage alerts. So get some uptime monitoring if you don't know what to do. And if you already have monitoring, then make sure that it's connected to some form of alerting. Do you remember the moment when I was talking about CEOs not having their laptops encrypted and not being too fond of the MFA and all the numbers on their mobile phones? Well, they become the weakest links in the chain. And the same thing can happen when we look at your own supply chain in your company. So basically, your security can be 100% in order, but you are as strong as the weakest link in the whole chain. That's why I recommend that you also review regularly your own supply chain. And if you don't know what to look, well, I expect you have a GDPR document where you have a list of all your sub-processors. So this is exactly where you should start. The last point is a little bit tricky. There is a lot of businesses that take their security very seriously, and this is absolutely super good. The thing is, some of those businesses actually forget about the physical security. And in these cases, it's actually very easy to enter their offices. And by using a little bit of social engineering, you can actually get a hold of all the stuff that is being protected online by, yes, almost the whole army. Make sure that access control to your office is in a way personal and that you actually keep a log of who's entering and who's leaving. And don't make it too easy for people that are not part of your office to enter it unless you are running some kind of reception where you actually receive people from the outside. I'm making this video because I can see that again, as a humanity, we are forgetting one basic principle whenever we interact with AI. That means we might be tricked by a false sense of security and we might provide it with secrets that we wouldn't have mentioned in a regular conversation. And the point is, you never know who else is looking on the other side. And if you think that the terms and conditions are some kind of protection for you, then I will say yes, up to some extent. But remember, they are just promises and they have a potential of enforcement. But before any kind of that enforcement can happen, quite a lot of ifs have to be actually in place. If you're still not convinced, then think about the temptation people that govern this data have to fight every day. Because I can assure you, there's going to be quite a lot of juicy secrets that are in that data set. The list I have just presented to you is by no means complete. It's actually based on my own experiences and things I have seen in the past couple of years. The point is, this list is a very good starting point because, as I said in the beginning, I'm not trying to sell you anything, so you can actually take it as a good starting point, as a good conversation starter with your own IT. In case you don't have anyone to talk to about the security things in your company, you're of course welcome to contact me, And I can promise you that we will start our discussion from exactly the same list as I have presented here. And remember one more thing, not all points are actually relevant to you. So if your IT person tells you that this point is really not something that we have to worry about, probably they are right.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry.